Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Network's Dr. Christopher Hall Show. And I'm excited to welcome to the program Dr. Christopher Hall. Dr. Hall, how are you? It's New Year's. We went down to the wire by doing tons of shows, and we're already off the bat with another inspiring guest. How are you today, Dr. Hall?
Wow. I mean, it's 2020, a great day, so I'm very excited with our current guest today.
Okay, so go ahead and introduce him.
No problem. Well, I'm very excited to introduce an individual who's actually a serial entrepreneur, a person who knows a lot about getting people in shape, a motivator, an inspiring individual, CEO of his own company. It's my pleasure to introduce Papa Joe Aviance. Welcome to the show.
Hey, hello guys. How you doing?
Good, fantastic. It's great. It's great to chat with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And it just seems like one thing, Papa Joe, I'll just jump to my first question. It sounds like you have a good outlook on life. Just getting on the phone with you off air, I see a motivating factor. I see something that kind of leads you to each and every day. And I'm sure you didn't have that all your life, this kind of attitude, right?
Well, you know what, to be honest with you, I've always had a kind of like a doer mentality, so to speak. Pretty much with anything that I did. I just made some bad choices throughout the way, but now I'm more focused and more determined than ever. Yeah. So, but yeah, things have changed.
I've
gotten a better handle on things. You know what I'm
saying? It takes a light bulb to kind of go to come out and say, okay, now it's time to get focused. And I feel something weird about 2020, Papa Joe, that's different than any other year. And I don't know why it is. It's just, it seems like the stars are aligned in 2020. We'll find out. We all probably said the same thing in 2019, but we'll see what we can do. All right, go ahead, Dr. Hall, with your question.
Papa Joe, I mean, wow, it's such an inspiring story. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and how did you end up in Hollywood, California?
Well, originally from Michigan, born and raised in Michigan, moved down to Virginia, left Virginia for New York, and then made my way out to California. That was kind of like the path. But throughout my career and my relationships, I formed some bad habits. I've been heavy all my life. I'm not gonna lie. I started off in husky size. Like I skipped small through extra large and went right to husky. And then basically through those bad habits, I just knew that I was kind of like slowly killing myself through food. So one day, I had an opportunity to do music, and it kind of circled back into my life later. And I got to record a song that became a top 10 Billboard dance hit, and that was literally my wake-up call. And just seeing that music came back into my life, and so I said, you know what, I just got to make this change. And so I just said, what was the easiest exercise that I could do? Because at the time I was 450 pounds. And then from there, I just said, I'm going to get at it, and finally made the commitment to change my life and started walking.
Wow. And so when you talk about that whole process, you're taking us all the way into the music end of things. Before that, you just found that idea that you would be great in music. Did you know you had those certain gifts that made it?
Not at all. Not at all. To be honest with you, I was working at a video store, and a DJ came in and said, I like your voice. You have a great sound for house music. And I'm just like, okay. But music is always something that has been like really a passion of mine. Growing up, it was my best friend through those troubled times when I was, being bullied in high school and in the whole 9 yards and just being name called, and my relationships and through my career, music has always been my best friend. So finally, someone had recognized something in me to say, hey, you might have a shot at this. And so my very first time recording my very first song ever winds up being a top 10 Billboard dance hit.
Wow. That's
like the first time I get on the mic, you know what I'm saying, to say what I say.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, and the label contacted me and said, what happened was they contacted me and said, we want you to be the next Biggie Smalls for house music. And I was like, nah, that's not me. Nah, that's and they were like, no, you'd be great for this. You know, you come out like Biggie Smalls, you know, like Notorious B.I.G., you know, kind of like this big guy, you know, and this, that, and the other. And we kind of, we form you into that. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. So, I mean, that's really when I made the determination to say, you know what, if this is something that I felt that I had a gift for and a talent at, I don't want to look like that anymore. And I didn't want to appear like that, you know, for the image that I wanted to portray. So I said, okay, it's time for a change.
Okay, Dr. Halden, what's your next question?
Well, you know, Papa Joe, I mean, again, I mean, for 2020, I mean, he's a great guest starting off here. His story is so inspiring. And I saw where, you know, he actually was raised by his grandparents. He was a success there on Wall Street, and then ended up, you know, pretty much, again, you know, with nothing. And then he saw himself, hey, greater than 400 pounds. So tell me about your early inspiration. I mean, were your grandparents important in that, or tell us about that?
My grandparents have been a big influence on my life growing up. I mean, they basically, I always joke and say my grandfather taught me how to work and my grandmother taught me how to treat people, basically. And that's how they lived their lives. My grandfather had his own construction business called Davis Remodeling back in the 70s. For a black man to have that in the 70s was unheard of. And he was dedicated to building his community. And I got to witness that. And then my grandmother, she owned a beauty salon in her basement. And so all the ladies would come over and get their hair done. So I kind of got to witness both in action, you know, people telling their problems to my grandmother and then watching my grandfather kind of working the business side. So I learned all that growing up, but, you know, and I've kind of used that to my advantage growing into my corporate days and in life. But as far as my health issue goes, I just had some bad habits. You know, food was always a comfort for me. And so I was always an emotional eater. And that's something that I had to learn through the journey of the weight loss. But I learned that I was an emotional eater and just figuring out that trigger, like, okay. But again, you know, they've been my biggest inspiration just to work hard and go after your dreams. And part of that was, you know, okay, that's one aspect. Now I got to apply that to my health and wellness. And so that's the same thing I did.
And that's huge because you were able to apply that to the health and wellness. So talk about once you decide to lose weight, it's not that easy, right? And we all know this. And especially if we struggled our whole lives to kind of make that switch my mindset. So tell us about that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, I've always, like I said, again, you know, to be honest with you, it's easier said than done. It's easy to say, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to go out, I want to lose weight. But the thing is, you have to go through the process. I had no nutritional background whatsoever. I then turned around and grabbed a food pyramid off the internet. And I said, okay, this is the good stuff. All right, everything else is bad. So I made that decision because, again, I wanted to make healthier choices. So what I did was I went to the fridge. I cleared everything that was going to get out of my way for health and wellness. And I said, okay, I'm going to go after it. And I stocked everything with fruits and vegetables and just started making a meal plan for myself. But again, you know, and just figuring out what those habits were, those bad habits were that I was doing. And I really took the time to learn about myself. And I think most people, you know, we don't take the time because we were in a quick, you know, we're looking for that next fix. But I just realized that I was just doing some bad habits. But my biggest advice to anybody out there that's looking to make a change is to start with 1%. You know, I did it cold turkey. Like I said, I threw everything out that was going to get my way. Cookies, candy, cake, all the stuff. I mean, I used to eat 7,000 calories a day. 7,000. A nighttime binge would consist of two Big Mac meals, two large Diet Cokes, a chocolate cake, a bag of Doritos, family-sized bag of Doritos, and maybe some ice cream sandwiches to wrap it up at the end of the evening. And this was after I've eaten 3 meals throughout my day. This was in addition. This was the late night binge session. And then I would go to sleep and wake up, wouldn't exercise, wouldn't take care of myself. And again, I had to figure out those bad habits. And that mental shift, other than saying I want to lose weight, I had to figure out why I was doing some of the things. So why was I putting myself in some of these bad habits? And so one of my tricks is figuring out the what, when, why, from 3 Ws. What, when, why. What you're eating, when are you eating it, and why. So again, if you're looking at a bag of Doritos, what is it? Bag of Doritos. When do you want it? I want it now. I want it right now. Right now. And then you gotta ask yourself, why? Why you want it? You know it's not healthy. You know it's not going to be good for you in the long term, and you just have to talk to yourself. So again, it's just you have to self-motivate yourself and be your own cheerleader to know that you can do it. And that's one of the things that I had to learn how to do. But I think we all can make that shift. We just have to recognize those bad habits that we get ourselves into. And again, you don't have to go hard turkey like I did, but start with 1%. I used to drink, and again, to those 7,000 calories that I did, I used to drink a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew every single day for 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. I have not touched soda in 10 years, not one drop.
Incredible.
But I used to drink a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew. That's over 29 tablespoons of sugar a day for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 years. I'm like, oh, this has got to stop. But again, I had to recognize the light bulb went off. It was like, oh, wait a minute. You can't do that. No, stop that. That's bad. And then once I started just recognizing those bad habits again and making those small changes, those slight little tweaks, it's not like I'm never going to have it again. I just can't have it now. If I want it now, I'll have it, but I don't want it now like I used to because I know that I crave sugar. Another one of my habits with the what, when, and why,
Yes, but you know the result of what will happen when you have that.
Exactly, yeah.
That makes sense.
Like, oh,
yeah.
stand clear, but also, again, for my mindset,
For sure,
it's not like I don't know what it's going to, you know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm going to miss the taste.
No,
and that's
not
what
at
I have
all.
a feeling
No.
that some of these problems, that's what I have a feeling, some of these people, we get involved in our bad habits and we feel like we're losing out. We're missing out. We're never going to have it again. Oh, no, just switch it to something else for the meantime until you can get a better handle on it. Then you can go back to it for a minute. Like I said, I used to have a whole chocolate cake. Now I have a slice.
All right. So
And I learned how to put that into moderation. Like I used to eat the whole cake and tear it up. But now it's like, okay, just have a slice and be happy with it. I got my taste. I got my fix. I'm good.
all right, Dr. Hall, your next question.
Yeah, so Papa Joe, again, like I said, he's a very dynamic person. It's unheard of, really. As a doctor, this is something I've, you rarely, explain to America, pretty much his brand of how to stay in shape, how to rid diabetes. Do you think that we actually, does a person have to have a lot of money? Do they have to have some type of special weight loss program to really reach your goal?
Not at all. Not at all. But there are 4 states that California being one of them, where they have fruits and vegetables for $1. So again, I was unemployed, so for $40 a week, I was able to shop for fruits and vegetables and for basically a whole meal plan and lose my weight as well. So within my 18-month transformation, I was coining the phrase, the 99-cent diet. So, and also in addition to that, you don't have to be wealthy to eat healthy, and that's one of the things that I proved. I've just been very grateful for that, to learn that lesson. And one of the tricks that I've learned is if you're in the grocery store, hit the outside aisle. I don't care what grocery store you're in America, just hit the outside aisle with the fruits and vegetables out and walk your way around. And that's pretty much all the good stuff. Everything else in between, leave it alone.
And that's what's cost the money too, by the way. You think it's cheap, but then it adds up when you're shopping.
Correct. Oh yeah, it does. But you learn how to budget things, and I learned to budget things by my meals, and I kind of buy in bulk. So I would get cereal to know, okay, that cereal I'm going to eat for the next 4 days for breakfast, or that spinach omelet, I'm going to get a carton of eggs and some spinach for $2. Okay, that's my breakfast for the next 4 days. So I would budget it out and meal plan at the same time. and on top of that, saving money.
See, that is awesome. So one more question, then I'm going to let Dr. Hall have another question. That basically, you didn't make a lot of money then with the music at first, did you?
No, not at all. Not at all. That's why I had to find another revenue stream. I'm like, oh, okay, this is short-lived. But no, but no, I wanted to. I mean, with the weight loss and getting the exposure of being able to share my story and the journey, that's where becoming an author came into next, where. Basically, again, my first book I've ever written, called Balancing the Scales, available on Amazon. I became a best-selling author in 4 hours on Amazon. So I'm like, okay. So now I'm a weight loss guru. Got it. But I wrote the book to be honest with you. The message there, it's kind of like a handbook, and it's my story, and it's the message of it's not about the weight you lose, it's about the life you gain. And to be honest with you, being heavy, I restricted myself in so many different ways and missing out on so many different things that I wasn't able to enjoy, and I'm able to do those things now. One of the things I mentioned in the book is that I love roller coasters, but I had gotten so heavy that I wasn't able to fit into the seat anymore. So I wasn't able, something that I really enjoyed and had a passion for, I wasn't able to do anymore because my weight felt like it was a life sentence. So, and now, I'm walking, I'm bike riding, I'm exercising, I'm doing things that I never thought. I just went skydiving for the first time.
Awesome.
I'm underneath the weight restrictions now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I would have never done this being 450 pounds. Never. So now I'm doing things that I've never experienced before. I just went horseback riding 2 months ago. Again, I was fearful of living this life of being a heavy person and living the mindset of living a heavy life for the rest of my life. And it doesn't have to be that way. And that's something that I just want to share with people. It doesn't have to be that way. You can't overcome your obstacles. And if you need help, look me up.
All right,
Wow.
Dr. Hall, next question for Papa Joe.
I mean, it's incredible. What more inspiring message can you get right here in the new year? It's so incredible. And well, anyway, I think Papa Joe can probably attest to this. That there are a lot of things that actually cause us to have obesity, and it's not sometimes that we have a voracious diet or urge to eat. There are a lot of different pathologies, depression being one. And Papa Joe, who's actually been a best-selling author more than once on Amazon, tell us a little about a couple of things that may cause this obesity.
You know what? Stress, bad relationships, friendships, your career, your job, just the stresses in life can cause you to look, for comfort someplace else. For me, it was food. I consider myself a food addict. and I know that's kind of like people are like, oh, that's not a real thing. No, it's a real thing. You can become addicted to food. But I was so depressed, again, that there were times where I didn't even want to look in the mirror. I would literally, and if I did, it was just to make sure I didn't have food on my shirt. And it really got heavy because I was in a bad relationship, emotionally abused, physically abused, my younger years, had a traumatic experience, being bullied, all those traumatic experiences or stresses of life just kind of held me down. I wasn't happy in my career, again, eating all them calories and just stuck in a rut and felt like I wasn't going anywhere. But again, food was my outlet. It was a way for me to, I couldn't afford drugs or anything like that or that type of habit, so food was easier. It was, you can get a $5 meal, a Happy Meal, you know what I'm saying, and get all the calories, you know what I'm saying? So again, but through that, it was just learning that I was stuck in the rut. But I just really want to stress, it's just starting with 1%. If you just want to make that change for yourself, and if you see yourself just kind of stuck in that rut, you can change. You really can. But you have, again, it's not just saying it, it's just enjoying the process and figuring out the process and be okay with the process. And sometimes you're going to fall off the wagon. Even through my transformation, there were times where I'm like, I give up. I'm done. I'm going back. But then I would literally, somebody would say something to me, you look great, or give me that extra boost of confidence. Like, hopefully I'm giving somebody out there to say that they can look good or they can continue to do it and keep moving forward. I was like, you know what? Back on the wagon.
And there you go.
So,
That's the thing. Back on, and here we go again. Right, for sure.
Yo, 2020, let's do this.
So what's new? What's new with you, Papa Joe? What's the latest things? Yeah.
Actually, to be honest with you, I am transitioning from weight loss guru to author to now TV producer. I'm now creating my new animated TV series, live action series called The Electric Negro. I'm really excited about this new project. Through my transformation, it's kind of twofold. I called myself the Electric Negro as part of my inner superhero character, but somebody translated that and said, "Oh, that would make a great superhero." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So the light bulb went off again. So I said, "Okay, here we go." So I've now got a clothing line out of the deal. I created a clothing line, created the animated series. I've got Denzel Whitaker from Black Panther. I've got AJ McClain from the Backstreet Boys on board. I've got several other celebrities that are signed on board. If anybody wants to check it out, they can go to electricnegro.com. I'm giving away some free merchandise as well, too. But I'm really excited. I'm starting to develop that and pitch it to networks, hopefully in the new year. Hopefully in 2 weeks, to be honest with you. But
Incredible.
Keep moving forward. But again, I'm still inspiring and still speaking and still spreading the message of health and wellness. Again, 2 things in the book that I've mentioned. 2 things that I think you should stay focused on is 1 is your health and wellness, and 2 is your goals and dreams. And both of those require motivation. So I'm taking that step, health and wellness, check. Now I'm going after goals and dreams. Check.
Right, because it first has to come first. You have to have your life in
Exactly.
balance to go after it, and you never know when that opportunity comes. It could come later than you expected, and you get.
But you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready
Yes.
for it. You know, and if you want to continue to do whatever it is you were pursuing to do in life, you have to be healthy. You can't do it being. I'm sorry to say this. You can't do it being unhealthy. You can't. There's just no way. And I've learned that now. I've learned that now, and I can say that with full confidence within my voice. I'm like, you have to be. I'm like, I'm not going to be good to anybody if I gain all the weight back. Who's that going to inspire?
No one.
And then I'm making myself miserable. No, I'm on a mission. So I'm like, no, I'm sticking to it. So to be honest with you, it's a give and take. You know, people say, oh, continue the motivation or continue to spread the message like this. This one keeps me motivated because I continue to share. But again, I am so thankful for everything and moving forward with this new superhero to motivate, inspire people, and spread message of love, light, and just laughter. That's it.
Oh, that's such a great thing. So go ahead, Dr. Hall, with your summary.
Well, you know what? I mean, Papa Joe, rather, is definitely many things. And he's definitely I would say, a cheerleader for life. I mean, this is the guy along with me when I work in the emergency room, you know. Again, heart disease, coronary artery disease, strokes, all those things we know are due to diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And Papa John is doing his job out there to save lives. And I'm certainly going to keep doing mine in the emergency room. And so we appreciate you coming by and doing everything you've done, Papa Joe. Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Website, best place we can hit you up. Where's the best place we can go?
The book is available on Amazon, Balancing the Scales, or papajoeaviance.com, or you can go to electricnegro.com and check out the new superhero.
Is there a connection with some of the celebrities to promote down the line what you're doing with that once that project gets rolling?
Yes.
Okay, we'll definitely stay in touch in that thing. And if there's a red carpet, I'd love to come out to that red carpet. Whatever we can do on the Neil Haley Show, we are here for you. Okay.
Please,
and Dr. Christopher Hall, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Please, and gentlemen, by the way, if I can make sure I get your info before we leave, before we disconnect, because I've got a care package coming your way.
All right,
awesome,
fantastic.
Awesome.
So stay on the line, and I appreciate you calling. And then great show, Dr. Hall. Thank you, Papa Joe. And that was the Dr. Christopher Hall Show, everyone. Take care. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show's Total Celebrity segment. And I'm excited to welcome to the show Josh Dallas, Ben Stone, and Luna Blaze, Olive Stone of Manifest. Guys, thanks for calling, and how are you?
We're great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, I'm excited to chat with you, and it's because, again, JR and Melissa, when the show first debuted, I got to interview them, and I kind of take a liking to certain guests and say, you know what, I'm into this kind of a show. I'm going to start watching it, and I'm hooked. And the end of it, the ending, we're not going to spoil anything, Josh, but I'm sure you were blown away by the ending saying, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next, right?
Right. I mean, the ending of season 1 was explosive in so many ways. I mean, for 3 main reasons. There was a gunshot. We don't know where that bullet went.
Yes.
The second reason, there is a baby. We don't know we don't know who the baby daddy is.
Yeah, who is that?
And the third, Olive and Ben discover, as they piece together the clues from season 1, they discover that the passengers of 828 have an expiration. They have a death date, which is June 2nd, 2024. So we start off season 2 exactly where we left off season 1. So we're going to get answers to some of those straight away. Others are going to play out a little longer throughout season 2. But it's going to be an explosive season, and there's new enemies that come into play, new characters that come into play that make every day in the Manifest world a struggle to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Luna, I think in your conversation with fans, they just try to pick your brain, right? What am I going to expect? Because they're hooked by this show and what's going to happen next from the beginning of where this airline disappears and then reappears in a different time period, and then what's going to happen next. And I'm sure you're hearing that on social media and talking to fans, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, everyone is super curious as to, you know, what happens, and I think people are super excited for January 6th, but, you know, along with the fans, it's the same for us. You know, we don't even know what happens. We do not know the end of this mystery, and, you know, knock on wood, and hopefully we will be getting a season 3, and, you know, we get to tell more of this story, and we get to find out what really happened to Flight 828.
So I was flying home, Josh, from Houston, and it was a bad rainstorm, and I thought of you guys in the show. I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to me? I mean, it was like real bumpy. I was on a Southwest, you know, and it just was horrible. And I'm thinking, okay, the storm and what happened to you guys, and I think of this. So that's going to make people a lot of times that are fans think about the next time they fly, right, Josh? I'm sure you think about it sometimes as well when you're on a flight.
I think about it every time I'm on a flight, and I'm also worried that we're creating a whole generation of people who are going to be afraid to fly.
Flying, yeah.
I mean, I hope I don't get banned from airlines, but, you know, I do walk onto planes, and, you know, people that, you know the show and see me, I get some really strange reactions sometimes. I've walked onto planes and I've just heard, uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
And Luna, you're not on the plane, just to kind of, I don't want to spoil things. I just want to have a fun conversation with you guys. But again, if we're looking at the beginning of season 1, you ended up, you know, not on that plane. And that's the interesting thing. And Josh was on with your twin. And that's the other interesting thing is your relationship with your twin after you aged and he didn't. That's got to be interesting. A component of what season 1 really showed in a lot of ways in your character and your character's development.
Yeah, you know, I think, I mean, it's completely abnormal because, you know, having a twin who is your twin, but, you know, 5.5 years younger than you is just a little strange. So I think in any world where that was ever possible, it'd be super difficult to kind of adjust. And, you know, for the first time, you see in the pilot, for the first time that Olive comes through the, you know, the air, wherever they landed, and sees Cal, it's kind of, you know, a shock because you're like, oh my gosh, the last time you saw me was like 3 hours ago and I was little, and now you're seeing me and I'm 5 years older than you. So I think it's still kind of a shock even in season 2 as well for me and Cal and our relationship.
And Josh, your character, Ben, really evolved from the beginning of the show to the last episode. You became an investigator. Your current job to what you do now, you've really branched out your character in development and growth.
Yeah, I think so. I think, for Ben, throughout season 1 and for sure in season 2, we find him in this new role of guardian of the passengers or caretaker of the passengers. So he takes a lot of that on himself, and as we go through season 2, that means that he is on this journey of finding a loophole in the death state to try to stop it, and also protecting the passengers from old and new enemies that are making daily life very difficult, because there's a lot of groups, two in particular, that don't care for the A28ers, think they are, agents of the apocalypse and are trying to rid them from society. So it makes living in this new world that they find themselves very difficult and scary. And, he is trying the best he can to shepherd his family through this, and at the same time trying to figure out the answer to the mystery of what happened to them on that flight.
And you see such a responsibility you have as your character, Josh, that you have to do this. This is written for you. And your sister shows it in so much ways as well, Melissa, that guess what? You two together really bring that responsibility when some of the people went back to life as normal when they came home. You guys, in a lot of ways, were trying to uncover things throughout.
Yeah, and I think we do that throughout season 2, and they come at it at different perspectives. And I think as we go through season 2, their perspectives on the mystery and how to go about it and what these callings mean switches, and they kind of take each other's stances on it, which is really fun to play and interesting for those two characters. And I think, as Ben takes on this self-imposed responsibility as caretaker of the passengers, I think that weight becomes very heavy on him as we go through season 2. And I think, as, God said to Moses, how many more things must I show you? How many more miracles must I perform before you believe? And I think Ben has a huge shift in the way that he sees the world and the way that he thinks, and changes his outlook on these callings and how they should approach them.
Because you're a mathematical guy, and you have to think differently than mathematically as your character. And Luna, your character, again, is in this challenge of almost like two dads, and also how you deal with your brother. So you're really having to reach in a lot of ways and be in the middle in a lot of these things and really trust.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's, for all of that, is a huge part of, her character, or that character and her life is, kind of being stuck in the middle of just everything, in relationships, in life, and, her family with her twin. She is kind of just stuck in the middle. And, it's challenging, but I think definitely in season 2, it's a work in progress, but we definitely get somewhere, especially with Olive and Ben's relationship. It's really great.
And you see,
Ben and Olive go on quite a journey this season, and I think, towards the middle to end of the season, they come together in a really beautiful way.
Yeah.
It's a great father-daughter arc.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you saw what happened, for sure. Okay, everyone needs to tune in January 6th, 10 p.m. Eastern on NBC, but also catch up with the marathon on January 3rd on Sci-Fi. So people that's why we didn't want to spoil a bunch, because you can't spoil this. You got to go catch up and be ready to watch season 2 and be floored, for sure, guys. So I appreciate you both calling. And Luna, again, I love you on Fresh Off the Boat as well. Another one of my favorite shows. So I talked to Forrest before.
Thank
we had
you.
a really fun convo. So I appreciate you both calling, and best of luck.
Oh,
Thanks for having
you.
us.
All right, take care. Thanks, guys. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show's Total Celebrity segment. And I'm excited to welcome the program NFL Hall of Famer Jack Youngblood. Jack, thanks for calling. How are you?
Neil, better than we deserve, brother. Better than we deserve. It's a wonderful Christmas time, but whoa.
Hey.
It is.
Yeah. I hear you.
We're going wide open right now.
Most definitely. And thinking about, I remember you completely, the Rams against the Steelers, which I know you don't want to ever look back to ever as a Pittsburgh guy. But when you look back at your career, Jack, and look at all the success, what would you highlight as your greatest success in the NFL? Was it the Hall of Fame?
Well, that came, the Hall of Fame came a number of years later after I was off the field. One of the best accomplishments was 1980 in '84, and I'm sorry, in '79, and we got all the way there. We had been on that precipice for years, for like 8 years. We'd been, we'd get beat by Dallas, and then we'd get beat by Minnesota. And finally we got there. We executed it, and I was the captain of the football team, and that was one of the best events that we accomplished in those years, especially in '79.
And most definitely, you think about that team, and they faced probably one of the greatest teams of all time, the Steelers. So there you go in that type of a situation. But the way you were able to go and take that, you guys had some characters on that team too, Jack, didn't you?
You're being kind. We did. We had some real characters, and I had some great players with me, and that's and I add them to my success. They were always a part of it, and we had a function there for a long period of time of good players and good character, not just good players and just because they can run, jump, and scream, but because they wanted to be part of this team, and to be a part of this team, you had to do your job. And you had to do it very, very well.
You bet. You got to do it very well, and it's a team, and that's what's all about in the NFL. And when you think about the Los Angeles Rams then, and your fan base then, versus the fan base now in Los Angeles, you're hoping that LA tradition comes back to the Rams, right? Because we don't want to talk about the Chargers; they don't fit in LA at all. But we know that the Rams do, and how you bring back that tradition that was there when you were there.
Well, I tell this story all the time. The Rams came in '37, I think that was the number. I've been hitting the head a lot of times, so numbers sometimes don't come up. But they came from Cleveland to LA in '37, and they belonged there. And then someplace, where was it, 90 something, and they moved to St. Louis. And so I was mad at them for both reasons. I mean, in fact, they had basically not become very, very friendly to the retired alumni, and especially while they were in St. Louis.
Really?
But that changed. We started some stuff and got to the right people and started some stuff and brought back that friendship and that the mutual perspective of all the players and who they were and how they played the game. Why did they play the game? Was it at your heart, or was this something, a job on the side? No, There's more meaning to being on a National Football League team, especially a good one.
No, it definitely is for sure, and that hopefully getting that tradition's so important in NFL, especially a franchise, to keep people coming back year after year, even if there's not a really winning season. You know, you have a big year that everyone jumps on the bandwagon, but when you have a year where you're like, okay, if you have that branding where people just love seeing the players and seeing them in the community and understand they're part of the city, the power of that team becomes for the long term and for the players and the fans.
And as you know well, it's not really just about playing. It's playing and winning, and being dominant as individuals as well as teams, and creating issues and methods of being able to do that. That's the big part. That's the underlying aspect of what the NFL is all about from day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're talking to Jack Youngblood here on the Neil Haley Show. And let's go into this time of year. We're talking Christmas, Jack, and Christmas time. It's time to gear up for some snacks, right? And what's the best time to have right now? It's Southern Recipe, right? Tell us about preparing for the game. Big games coming up this weekend and everything.
I'm telling you, this is the time of the year where it's much more rewarding to give than to receive, and that's always been a thought of mine. And Southern Recipe joined with Mike Ditka in his Gridiron Greats Foundation, which is a foundation that helps retired players when they get into medical and financial situations. So we brought on a partner here that, I mean, they have, what's better than pork rinds and pig skins?
Yes.
That's it. It goes hand in hand. It can't get any better than that. We were raised on them. So, but these guys, they're great. It's a great company, and they've joined hands with Mike and trying to raise some funding for the assisted living, and it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. They've got me saturated with them. Now I've got 2 big boxes. I got to figure out that I can't eat all that.
Well, it's definitely something to pass out for sure everywhere.
Absolutely. It's sweet to be able to give it away like that. Yeah.
And the thing that Gridiron Greats, people don't understand, certain players have gone through some really tough times after their careers were over, especially if their career was shortened or they had a traumatic sort of injury or different injuries come by. Explain that, especially at the time of your time where players really didn't make the kind of money that they make today, and that they get injured and they have this whole thing about that process. The
key word there is they didn't make what they're making today. That's the key word. And the other side of that coin was, it didn't matter how many years that you played. Well, it did if you had to vest to get the 5 years after you retire and you're off the field to have medical coverage, have insurance. And so that's gone away. Now, you know how health issues are. I mean, they're so damn expensive. I mean, you could buy 4 or 5 houses for some of the medical situations that these guys get into, and because of what they've done to themselves and what the game has done for them. And it's like a car crash. I mean, you're just you're going to have damage. And the league just really they've come a long ways. Let me just give them that much kudos there. They've come a long ways with it, but it's still like a car crash. Somebody is responsible for the damage.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it right there.
You'll leave it right there, and that's where some of the other stories that people can look up about Jack Youngblood and that stuff. But you're right, and I ultimately believe the NFL is such a short career versus even the guys making lots of money. Then let's say the NBA or even the NHL gets a longer career than the NFL. That you could end up having you could be a low end contract. And you might not get vested, and you end up with some of those injuries. You need ways to support yourself because you're not going to be able to do anything else.
Exactly, and the average player today is less than 4 years. It's almost less than 3. I mean, it's just over 3 years. So that's just the average. So there's going to be some issues, and they're 25, 28 years old, and they spend half their year in a hospital rehabbing from some injury that you got when you were playing in November of last year. That's the kind of thing that Mike's tried to help in, and he's done a tremendous job. He really has. He's found these guys. He goes out and he looks for them, and tries to bring them back into the circle.
He definitely does, and that's an amazing thing that he's able to do. And I think that's, again, to give back these NFL, for people that want to get involved in this, there's an important day, right, that is part of that process, and that's Pork Rind Appreciation Day. Tell us about that.
Well, that's that we created some things that you can go on the internet and see there's several games that we can that you can get in and make a little cash, for on the Super Bowl day. They had Pork Rind's Initiation Day.
So there's a lot of fun stuff to do on the Super Bowl. So do you have predictions for the Super Bowl? Who's going to play? Who's going to be in it?
If I knew that, I'd borrow 100 from you, and we'd go. We'd go.
It's so difficult to look at. You never know if it could be New England again, because New England could just be playing possum right now, right? They could just decide we're just going to change everything and just didn't take. There's no one in the AFC that dominant. In the NFC, you can't really believe that the 49ers are the best team in football.
Yeah, I was sitting with my wife, and we're sitting there watching when Frisco and New Orleans were playing, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I said, I made some comment, to the television, and I said, what am I doing? I'm sitting here pulling for somebody, and I hated both of these guys. Back in my day, they were arch rivals, and it's a horse race down the line. This week's going to count a lot, I think.
Okay, all right. So best place, and that's the important part of the whole thing, is you never know for sure. And so life after football for you, Jack, really quickly. Tell us a little bit about that life after football. What are you currently doing and what's going on with you?
Well, I was blessed with I had opportunities, from Sacramento. I was there help run the World League team there. Then I got an offer to move back home, and I had been asking the good Lord to show me the direction, how I can go back home. I've been 28 years in California was enough for this country boy, and the door opened, and I went and we had an arena franchise, and I ran that for 5 years, won that championship, and I've been basically living, tending to the farm. I've got 200 acres up in my old hometown, and we're there quite a bit. So it's been I've been a blessed man.
That's tremendous. And when you're telling about the story of you and stuff, it's really interesting to look at, is that life after football, you had the right direction, the right focus, it sounds like, when you retired. Where to go than some of the young players today. in ways?
Well, you know, you got to go. You got to go with the direction that good Lord hands you, and I think leads you in that direction. But you got to listen sometimes instead of just going out there and being a bull in a china shop. You got to listen, and you go with where you're good at. It's where your heart is, because you're good at what you do where your heart is. And a lot of these players today, they rely on the fact that they've made millions of dollars in a short period of time, and being able to manage that kind of finance is difficult if you haven't had any schooling, any input.
Right.
It really is kind of difficult.
And you followed God led you to where you need to go. And that's fantastic again. And we can find information on everything, Gridiron Greats, Southern Recipe, and Pork Rinds at porkrinds.com, porkrinds.com, Southern Recipe, and also gridirongreats.org, right?
Absolutely.
All those different places.
Go check that out.
And anything new with you, Jack? You just said, are you pretty much retired now, or you got any other business ventures going on?
Well, I've got my first grandbaby, and that's an all-day affair.
You told me. You were telling me you're trying to make things perfect for them before.
It's an amazing blessing, but it keeps you on your toes. That's for sure.
It most definitely does. Well, I appreciate you calling. Best of luck, and thanks for coming on the show.
Neil, thank you, brother.
Take care. Thanks. Okay, take care. Bye.
See you.
You're listening to Neil Haley's show, and we'll be back in just a moment.